Hello, everybody. I am Queer Crocodile. I am a somewhat well-known VGC player in the unofficial online Limitless tournament space, as well as in certain draft leagues. I mean, Queer Crocodile is not the. It's a pretty easy name to remember. It's pretty memorable. And today I will be going over the set I played in a best of one tournament earlier today. Granted, it was best of one for the Swiss rounds, which is when I played them in round one, which means I'll only have one game. There's not really any adaptations, so any mistakes that I or my opponent makes are gonna be final. But going over the team I brought to this tournament, I used one of my favorite concepts, Blood Moon Ursaluna and Farigarath. Ursaluna Blood Moon holding the Life Orb with a standard moveset, Terra Normal, Blood Moon, Hyper Voice, Earth Power. It hits really hard. And then the Throat Spray Farigarath set is slightly less common for these teams, as a lot of time you would prefer a Mental Herb. However, I figured, because of a certain Pokemon on my team, a lot of the things that Mental Herb is meant to counter, I'm plenty fine into. So I decided to make my Farigarath actually contribute to damage. With a Throat Spray, I can click Hyper Voice and Psychic into my opponents freely and get, plenty of, plenty of big KOs into, I get plenty of chaos. I can do, it's not chaos. I do good damage after clicking Hyper Voice and triggering my Throat Spray. Sorry about that. Then to round out a Trick Room mode, because the Farigarath and Ursaluna prefer to be in Trick Room, which just reverses the speeds of the battle. To round it out, I have Incineroar, the greatest Pokemon of all time, running the current standard of Safety Goggles with Intimidate and a Terra type of Ghost. Ghost Terra allows Incineroar to become immune to Fake Out, which is really relevant, especially if you're bulkier, like my Incineroar is, and even a little offensive, as well as Safety Goggles, which allows me to become immune to the Powder moves, which are a menace to my Trick Room team. My Incineroar is immune to Spore, it's immune to Rage Powder, and sporting Fake Out to stop one Pokemon from moving, Parting Shot to switch out and lower my opponent's offenses, Flare Blitz and Knock Off for damage, as well as a little bit of utility through Knockout. That is my main Trick Room core of Incineroar, Farigarath, Blood Moon. However, Ursaluna Blood Moon can actually be decently fast and works outside of Trick Room, so I added Flutter Mane with Booster Energy and Taunt, Moonblast, Icy Wind, and Protect, as well as a stupid amount of speed. I am probably one of, if not the fastest, bulky support Flutter Manes in VGC right now. And I did this because in order to not run Mental Herb for Farigarath, I need to run this very strong support, this very fast taunt Flutter Mane, so I can counter taunt. And also, and usually, you don't even go for taunt when you're staying down my Farigarath and Flutter Mane because of counter taunt possibilities. Then, I round the team out with Ogerpon Hearthflame, which gives me redirection through Follow Me, and big nuclear bomb physical damage in Ivy Cudgel and Woodhammer. It will delete Pokemon. It also gives me a slightly better matchup into Cornerstone Ogerpons, because with their natural ability of Sturdy, it's hard for me to KO them in one shot. However, my own Ogerpon is Mold Breaker, and Woodhammer gives you the little bit of extra damage to possibly KO, and it ignores 30, so it would just be a one hit. And then lastly, Urshifu Rapid Strike. It is here to sometimes come into Trick Room and just generally help against some certain... It's just Urshifu Rapid Strike. A lot of teams run it. It's one of the most common Pokemon in the format, and it's just generally good. Hits through Protect, and I am running the bulky Mystic Water Terra Fire Rapid Strike. Terra Fire gives me a better matchup into the Ogerpons, into the Hearthflame Ogerpons, which I kind of struggle with, as well as as well as I'm not the most concerned about, like, you know, well springs, which is like the main drawback to Terrifier. And my opponent is the eventual winner of this tournament, who I faced in round 1. They have a Fluttermane with support moves of Taunt, Thunderwave, Icy Wind, and Moonblast, also known as Satan Mane. A Metagross with Assault Vest and an ability Clear Body, which would make it immune to any stat drops, which is good for a physical attacker. Assault Vest makes it super bulky, and it runs Bullet Punch for priority, Stomping Tantrum for coverage, Psychic Veins for its Psychic type damage move of choice, and Heavy Slam because Metagross is a heavy boy and it's doing big damage. A Terra Ghost Life Orb Landorus. Terra Ghost is actually really interesting for the format. Not a lot of Landorus are going to run it. It's also got Earth Power, Sludge Bomb, and also Substitute, which is slightly less common now. Then they have a Wellspring Ogerpon, which is a very big threat to my Urshifu. It would basically invalidate it from clicking Surging Strikes if their Wellspring wasn't running Encore over Follow Me. They also have Ivy Cudgel, Hornleech, and Spiky Shield, the standard moveset. So now their Ogerpon, instead of being their Redirector, can shut Pokemon down. They also have a Magnet Raging Bolt, which Magnet will boost their electric moves, which basically turns it into an electric nuke, while also having Draco Meteor for, even more damage, and Incineroar to round out the team. We are running the exact same Incineroar in terms of, like, team sheet-wise. However, obviously, we didn't run the exact same EV'd Incin. So, this is from my opponent's perspective. I'm breaking this down so that way I can, just get my name out there, stuff like that. I really like commentating over things, and I've been told I'm somewhat good at it. So back to this, I decide, well, because Metagross is usually a little bit speedy, I decide I need Trick Room mode, where I'm going to use Incineroar for Rigoraph leads with Ursaluna and Fluttermane in the back, because I am scared of their Fluttermane, who can Encore me. I don't want to get Encored not Encore, that's Ogerpon, who can taunt me. I don't want to get taunted and basically lose speed control. Fluttermane also helps in the back in case I do get Trick Room up, I don't do enough damage, and in an endgame, I need a little bit of speed control. My opponent decides to lead their own Fluttermane and Incineroar, along with either Raging Bolt or Landorus, but they ultimately decide Raging Bolt is for the best. So, getting into the leads, it is my Farigiraf and Incineroar staring down Fluttermane and Incineroar. Now, this is a very interesting lead. They could taunt me. They have basically three possible moves they can go for, and two possible moves with Incineroar. Also, their Intimidate goes off first, which shows off the fact that they have a faster Incineroar than mine. So what happens this turn? Well, their Incineroar has two options. They can they can knock off my Farigiraf and try to get rid of my Throat Spray, which would basically make it go from a good, consistent damage-dealing Pokemon into not quite a wet pool noodle after a Throat Spray boost, but it's not strong. They could also go for a then their Fluttermane could go for a Thunder Wave into either of my Pokemon and try to just get good paralysis luck, a Moonblast for damage, or a Taunt into my Farigiraf. They ultimately decide to predict the Farigiraf Protect, as we will see them lock into, well, first Fluttermane Booster Energy, but they ultimately decide, hey, I'm gonna go for a they decide to predict me and go for a Thunder Wave and they're considering knockoff, but they go for a Parting Shot to my Incineroar. They read my Protect, and I go for a Protect so I can stop Taunt, and a Parting Shot into their Fluttermane. Their Thunder Wave hits my Incineroar. It doesn't really matter, as the only speed having effect it ends up mattering for is my Farigiraf and Incin. They parting shot my Incineroar, and they bring in. They have to choose which Pokemon to bring in now. They will ultimately decide on bringing in Ogerpon Wellspring. Because they hard predicted me, they can Encore. Except I parting shot their Flutter Mane, and I bring in my own super fast Flutter Mane. And when I was playing this, I was like, oh man, what do I do? How do I get Trick Room up? Because I very much would like Trick Room here. And I think, oh, are they going to go for a taunt? Should I taunt their Flutter Mane? If I do that, are they going to Ivy Cudgel me and drop me down low? But then I remember, oh my god, this Ogerpon is Encore. I'm going to predict the Encore. Go for a Trick Room and a taunt into Wellspring. I also didn't think they would double up because I don't think that super safe play is really the best. So they go for a Thunder Wave. It misses my Flutter Mane. And they go for Encore, which fails. Trick Room goes up. Now, that Thunder Wave miss was the only bit of luck I had in this set. And it meant... It's actually a little bad for me, because Trick Room went up. They now are in a little bit of a sticky situation. The Trick Room is just set up. If I can get my Ursaluna or even Incineroar into position, I can take a KO or two. I decide, you know what? I think Hyper Voice to get my Farigiraf set up, and a Moonblast into that Flutter Mane. Because I'm setting up their Flutter Mane, I should go for a Moonblast, just so, I either, go down and I can get an Ursaluna in, or get good chip damage into this Pokemon. They switch in Incineroar to take the Hyper Voice, and they decide to Thunder Wave my Farigiraf. Farigiraf goes for Hyper Voice, Flutter Mane is immune, but Incineroar loses about a quarter of its health, which is a little relevant, because if I, double it up, it should KO. Thunder Wave hits into my Farigiraf, because they do in fact have the slower Flutter Mane. They're going to move first now in Trick Room. And I go for Moonblast into their Flutter Mane, drops them to what I think is about 55%. And I see that damage and I'm like, oh my god. Their Flutter Mane just took so much. I should Psychic it to get the KO. If I can remove this early, I would have the speed advantage outside of Trick Room. And I also figure, well, Flutter Mane's not doing anything. If it gets KO'd, well, I'm going to probably KO their Flutter Mane. So, hey, let's just Moonblast the Incineroar. Spread damage around. They decide to lock in... Oh, no, I did swap out my Flutter Mane. No, I swapped into Incineroar because I was under threat of, Knockoff and Moonblast into my Ursaluna swap. And I figured Incineroar was just a good mon to come in and, take the moves. And I also thought I was going to KO, and I can preserve my speed control. Psychic comes out. It's at +1. It drops their Flutter Mane to 2 HP. Oh my god, it was so close. They parting shot, and they're going to bring in Ogerpon Wellspring. This is a bad spot now. There is exactly 2 turns of Trick Room left. They also go for a Moonblast into my Incineroar. But that's not the most relevant, as this is a bad spot for me. There are 2 turns of Trick Room left. There are 2 turns of Trick Room left. I've got no KOs. There's no way I can get Ursaluna into position here. And I just think, well, I gotta get something. Maybe I could set up maybe if I can get Flutter Mane in next to Ursaluna, I could set up for a possible sweep. Ultimately, I am up in health a little bit, so we're gonna... But because I'm fully paralyzed, my opponent decides to Spiky Shield. However, because I was fully paralyzed, I decided, well, there's no harm in going for a double up, right? So I try to go for a Psychic with my Farigiraf. I get fully paralyzed. But it's okay, because Incineroar will come in and break through paralysis. My goat, breaking through paralysis. I love you so much for that, Incineroar. And now they get the choice to either reveal their final Pokemon or go back into their Incineroar. As now, I can have speed control outside of Trick Room with my Flutter Mane. They decide to bring in their, and I now have possible outside of Trick Room speed control because my Flutter Mane is now the fastest thing in the matchup, and I can Icy Wind things. Here I decide to go for, they just protected, I'm gonna go for a Hyper Voice and a Parting Shot into their Wellspring, because Wellspring is a bit of a threat. They decide to go for their own Parting Shot and a Terra Water Ivy Cudgel into my Farigiraf. Now, because I went for Parting Shot, I become a little bit terrified. They Parting Shot my Incineroar. But because they went for this, I become a little bit terrified. Hyper Voice does hit into Incineroar, dropping it to about 90 HP. I'm a little terrified because I'm like, oh my god, I could switch in my Ursaluna, who even at -1 might go down because it's a super effective Terra Water Ivy Cudgel, or I could switch in my Flutter Mane, who might go down because Flutter Mane is physically frail as shit. It has 55 defense. That is terrible. There are some starters, unevolved, that have higher defense than it. Ultimately, I decided, well, Flutter Mane is less valuable than all my offense in Ursaluna. However, good news for me, they just Parting Shot my Flutter Mane. Which, there's no changing it, but it just made me think, oh, so you did you double it down? I was a bit worried about a double up. What's actually going to happen here? Raging Bolt comes in. That's what's going to happen here. And Ivy Cudgel, Terra Water, goes into my Farigiraf. It does a bit under half at -1. Here now, I'm like, okay, well, I'm not getting a Trick Room up. They could double into me. I'd rather them KO my Farigiraf here. And if they don't, I'm getting free damage into Wellspring. Damaging Wellspring is the best right now because with Ursaluna in the back, Wellspring is its biggest threat because it could always one-shot Raging Bolt. I could always one-shot Raging Bolt, but there's no guarantee I KO this Wellspring from this range. So, you know what? Let's go for a Psychic into the Wellspring. If they don't double up into me, I'm getting Big Chip, and we're going to go for an Icy Wind to set up my Ursaluna because Raging Bolts can, in fact, be faster than my, even admittedly, really fast Ursaluna. So Icy Wind comes out. It does 30 damage to this Raging Bolt, which is shocking. It is super effective, though. Raging Bolt drops it drops the speeds. It might not matter into the Wellspring, but it probably matters into Raging Bolt. They go for the Ivy Cudgel. I'm like, I'd probably leave it at -1. They critical hit. That's a guaranteed KO with a crit. It's a 1 in 8 chance. They got the 1 in 8, and my Flutter Mane goes down. Raging Bolt goes for Thunderbolt. I'm like, man, that crit really sucks. If I got the second Icy Wind off, because if I got the second Icy Wind off, I could outspeed it. But then Psychic from Farigiraf gets a critical hit. Their Wellspring is down to 10 HP. And I am like, oh my god, I just lived on a sliver, brought them to a sliver with my own critical hit. Let's go Farigiraf. And I now have a Farigiraf and a Ursaluna. Currently, real quick, just a recount to the board position, because this is relevant. What it's looking like is my Farigiraf, who is low HP and paralyzed, versus my fully health Ursaluna and my chipped and paralyzed Incineroar. I basically have Deadweight and Farigiraf, all my offense, and a bit of support. They have Raging Bolt. They're what is going to clutch them the game by just being bulky and dealing big damage. A Wellspring who is at 10 HP, but is the fastest thing remaining in the matchup, and an Incineroar who is low and might go down to even an Ursaluna Hyper Voice. Now, the difference is they've burned their Terra. Maybe a Terra Water Ivy Cudgel would KO my Ursaluna. But I have Terra Normal. And because I dropped their speeds, it's going to be... They need to basically Draco Meteor into me to make this worth it. But I figure probably it's going to be a Thunderbolt into my Farigiraf. And just because I know Incineroar is in the back, I wanted to save Farigiraf, for whose Armor Tail would prevent all priority moves, and Fake Out, what I am scared of, is a priority move. So I decide I need to switch Farigiraf out and Terranormal Hyper Voice. My opponent decides, oh my god, my Wellspring is at -1 speed, -1 attack. I need to switch it out to reset it. And they bring in Incineroar. This doesn't matter because I was getting a KO in that slot anyways, and them doing this, I'm like, oh my god, did they go for the Draco Meteor? Am I gonna run out of offense? They didn't. I'm over panicking. I switch it out. I guess this means my name's on the internet now. Huh. But Incineroar comes in. Intimidate hits into both of these. Doesn't matter. It's not Wellspring because this Incineroar is dead. Terranormal Hyper Voice is about to come out. It's going to do big damage, and I'm thinking maybe I crit the Raging Bolt and I win because of just sheer numbers remaining. Maybe, who knows? Terranormal Hyper Voice comes out first, KOs Incineroar, and drops the Raging Bolt to 44 HP. I am so close to winning this. I just gotta figure out exactly how to position Raging Bolt. I'm like, please don't Draco Meteor. Thunderbolt comes out and hits my Incineroar. I was correct. Now it's a little bit of a mind game around Fake Out and Protect. Fake Out will KO Wellspring if I go for it. However, if they Protect, they open themselves up. If they Protect, like, basically, they need to get damage with Wellspring out. Wellspring is their win con. Raging Bolt will go down. It's at -1. It's staring down an Ursaluna Blood Moon, who is faster than it and will KO it. They need to get damage, and so I can stop them from getting damage with Wellspring if I fake it out. Or if they Spiky Shield, I'm going to take the recoil, and it might be bad. However, if they do that, I'm still in an advantageous position. Because even if they Thunderclap me, which would work, it would be Incineroar and Farigiraf, and they would need Insane Paralysis luck. So they decide they're going to go for the Para luck right here, right now, and I figure that out too. I go, okay, I need to Fake Out, they need to attack. I just can't be fully paralyzed on my Incineroar. I need the GOAT to pull through for me one final time, and I win the game. It's the end game. This is like the turn to decide what happens. They're checking everything. They're making sure they know what they need to do, and they will go for the lock-in of their Thunderbolt. It doesn't really matter what this Raging Bolt does, but they choose to lock in Thunderbolt. And Ivy Cudgel into my Ursaluna. Incineroar comes through, gets Fake Out, critical hit, breaking through the paralysis. The crit does not matter. And their Wellspring goes down, which means now Ursaluna Blood Moon, one final time, is gonna scream out and win me the game and my round one. My round one opponent went on to go undefeated for the rest of the tournament and win it all. So I was their one loss. I went on to make top cut and end up with a placement of either third or fourth, as I got eliminated in top 4 in a close 3-game set. I am not upset with my performance at all. I just wanted to make my first video where I, just break down exactly what happens. I break down what happens and, just share with you all basically I just wanted to break down a set. I really want to get into commentating VGC. I figured this was the best start. I have a set that I just played earlier today. Why not record me analyzing it? Great tournament to my opponent. I'm glad I could be your one victory. There are, in regards to any future uploads, there are a couple games I could analyze. I have a few Draft League matches I want to analyze, so let me know if you want to see that. Otherwise, I have been Queer Crocodile. Thank you so much for watching my little rant that I did. Bye.